everybody. My name is Abby Cock. I'm with the Green and Healthy Homes Initiative. I'm one of our presenters today.
Hey everybody, I'm Anjali Galati. I'm a climate equity associate with Interfaith Power and Light DMV. Really excited to present today.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Dustin Branch. I'm the Baltimore Regional Coordinator with the Chesapeake Climate Action Network. Wonderful to see you.
In peace, everybody. I am Bolon Zahir Xi-Amaru, and I am the Director of Health and Food Justice for No Boundaries Coalition here in Central West Baltimore.
And together we are the Electrify Baltimore Coalition. And today we're going to be presenting our community science campaign documenting the harms of indoor gas burning. So Interfaith Power and Light DMV is a nonprofit. We work with congregations of all faith traditions across DC, Maryland, and Northern Virginia to respond to climate change through greening projects, learning together, and speaking out. We have this role on grassroots work, testing the NO2 emissions of kitchens in residents' homes as well as congregations. And I'm really excited to tell you more about the work this is building on in the next slide. So Interfaith Power and Light DMV is part of a coalition called Beyond Gas, which is in Maryland and DC. And Beyond Gas, over the last 2 years, tested over 600 homes across DC and Montgomery County, the levels of nitrogen dioxide, which is just one of many pollutants that come from gas burning stoves. We use this EPA standard for outdoor NO2 exposure on what's considered safe levels. And you'll see 100 parts per billion is the recommended safe limit for outdoor exposure. And we use that because they don't have a limit for indoor. But using this, we found that almost 2/3 of all the kitchens we tested had nitrogen dioxide levels that were above the EPA safe recommended limit. And with this data, we published a report called Cooking Up Danger that's accessible online for free using this QR code. And you can also just Google Beyond Gas Cooking Up Danger to see more about the report and how we use this data to drive policy in DC and Montgomery County, which we'll get more into in this presentation. So the Beyond Gas report covered indoor air pollution as a public health matter because we spend 90% of our time at home. So in DC, the Healthy Homes and Residential Electrification Amendment Act was passed, and the Breathe Easy program was created to retrofit thousands of low and moderate income homes with electric appliances. So we're replacing gas burning appliances with zero emissions. And that helped lower energy bills, improve indoor air quality, and cut climate warming emissions outdoors too. In Montgomery County, there was a building decarbonization code that requires all new construction in the county to be all electric. And that also supports Montgomery County's ambitious greenhouse reduction goals of cutting emissions by 80% by 2027 and reaching net zero by 2035. And this is a similar kind of model that we are aiming to replicate in Baltimore City through the Electrify Baltimore Coalition of first doing community science using our own NO2 testing monitors to go into the homes and congregations of our neighbors, talk about this issue, explain that there are sustainable, healthy alternatives such as induction cooking, and that there are policy frameworks to achieve this on a broader scale. Here you'll see a collage of our photo petition campaign. We have posters that say, "For all that has breath, DC needs healthy homes." And we have a similar poster now that says, "For all that has breath, electrify Baltimore." And what we're proving, whether it was to the Montgomery County Council or to the DC Council, was visually showing how many people are in support of this. So we are planning on taking a lot of pictures of people holding the Electrify Baltimore sign to show the Baltimore City Council and the mayor's office how much support there is for this work. And I'll pass it to Dustin.
How's it going, everyone? Once again, my name is Dustin Branch. I'm the Baltimore Regional Coordinator with the Chesapeake Climate Action Network. I'd like to discuss a little bit about the policy aspect of our work and how we are building partnerships across the region. So a little bit about CCAN. We are a regional nonprofit founded in 2002 and the only regional nonprofit in the region that is dedicated to building a diverse grassroots movement solely focused on climate across Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Virginia. We believe that solving the climate crisis means fighting for justice on behalf of working families. And by forming those kinds of coalitions in neighborhoods all across the state and the region, we can uplift marginalized voices. So our focus as part of our Electrify Everything campaign is supporting all electric new construction in both residential and commercial buildings and supporting renovations to existing structures. We also seek policy changes to grant exemptions based on use, not the entire building as has been done in the past. So because we are impacted by the climate crisis and environmental injustice in so many ways, our approach to meet the moment has to be all of the above. So over the past several years, we have supported critical climate and environmental legislation, including the Climate Solutions Now Act of 2022. We passed BEPS, the Building Energy Performance Standards. We worked to pass the Better Buildings Act. And we just got finished here in February with our annual lobby night with over 100 grassroots lobbyists descending on the State House in Annapolis to meet with their elected officials to talk about legislation just like these. But building support means that we can't just go down to Annapolis and speak with our state elected officials. We have to talk to everyone. So we have established relationships and worked with county councils in Montgomery County, Howard County, Frederick and Baltimore counties, in addition to regular meetings with the Baltimore City Council. We believe that as we are moving many of these statewide pieces of legislation across the finish line of the 90-day legislative session, local government can also serve a role as a model for that kind of legislation on how to implement these changes. We really focus on involving stakeholders from community leaders and folks who are dealing with these issues each and every day, in addition to the actual decision makers, people who are drafting and voting on these pieces of legislation and overcoming the objections that they hear from other business leaders and other folks. So to build grassroots support, what we do is go door to door. We are out there straight in the community because change starts at home. So we seek to uplift people's stories, let them know that they are not alone, and help them share their experiences to give a voice to the policy changes that we are seeking. Pass it to you, Abby.
Thank you, Dustin. Hello again, everyone. Again, I'm Abby Koch. I'm the manager of climate campaigns for the Green and Healthy Homes Initiative. Next slide, please. Green and Healthy Homes, formerly the Coalition to End Childhood Lead Poisoning, works on addressing the housing-based causes of lead poisoning, asthma, injury, and energy inefficiency by creating homes that are healthy, safe, and resilient. Our work aims to eradicate the negative health impacts of unhealthy housing by taking a whole home approach. So not just looking at any one issue, but how they all interrelate to each other. We serve a lot of families in Baltimore City and beyond. You can sign up for our programs at greenandhealthyhomes.org. So we work directly in people's homes on lead remediation, on asthma air quality interventions, on energy efficiency, and on helping people switch over from older, inefficient gas and other fossil fuel burning appliances to cleaner, newer, highly efficient electric appliances. So that's what really brings us into this coalition, is the health and efficiency impacts. So if you can go to the next slide to speak a little bit more on the health piece. Anjali mentioned NO2, nitrogen dioxide, one of the most dangerous air pollutants for human health. It's released when we burn methane gas, which is the vast majority of what makes up the natural gas that we use in our homes. Many other dangerous chemicals are also released when we burn that gas, including benzene, a known carcinogen found in cigarette smoke. And the health harms cover a wide range of parts of our body and diseases. People end up being more susceptible to a range of cardiovascular issues, respiratory issues, their reproductive health harms, and even associations with cancer and early death. The one that I find sort of the easiest to talk about because it's just so compelling and strong and so relevant, unfortunately, for us here in Baltimore, is a meta-analysis that was done, a study of all the studies out there related to gas stoves and childhood asthma, where they found on average children in a home with a gas stove had a 42% higher chance of experiencing asthma symptoms than children in a home with an electric stove. So when we're burning fossil fuels inside our homes, we are harming our health, is the bottom line. Next slide, please. This is also a safety issue. This is a flammable gas that we're talking about. If it leaks out into the home, of course, then you can end up with carbon monoxide poisoning. And according to the CDC, more than 100,000 people in the US a year visiting the ER. But you can have small leaks where you don't even know what's happening. And it's not to the point that you pass out, but you might have headaches or feel nauseous and not know why. So it's a lot more people than that even who are being affected. And sadly, there are hundreds of people every year who lose their lives from carbon monoxide poisoning. And then there's gas explosions, which we've experienced in the greater Baltimore region, which have been deadly. In one case I know of that was relatively recent, taken out a whole block of homes. And of course, it's just an open flame in your house. So there's a great potential for burns, whereas if you move to induction cooking, the stovetop doesn't even get hot in the same way. It's a much safer way to cook. Next slide, please. We've been focusing a lot on the impacts indoors. This is a study specifically of the impacts of gas stoves. So that makes sense. But we have a lot of gas burning appliances that actually vent to the outdoors, our gas dryers, furnaces, water heaters that are creating a great deal of health harm as well. In the state of Maryland, fossil fuel equipment in our buildings emits more than 3 times as much nitrogen oxides as our state power plants. And if we eliminated all of that air pollution, it would have as much impact as if we took half of our diesel vehicles off the road. So just wanted to make the point that electrifying our homes affects our neighborhoods and our communities in a much wider way, even than our households as individuals. Next slide. I just wanted to give an example of what this work can look like in practice of helping people switch over to clean electricity in their homes. So this is Miss Phillips. She's a retired state employee and a GHHI client who was kind enough to let us share her story. Her gas boiler was not operating. Her gas stove had no venting to the outside. She also had leaks in her plumbing, inadequate insulation, and multiple trip and fall hazards in her home. Through aligning, braiding, and coordinating different funding streams and resources, we were able to replace her boiler with an electric heat pump and mini splits for AC, replace her gas stove with a new electric one, and replace her washer and dryer with highly efficient electric versions. Her utility bills dropped $100 in the first month after those interventions, and her indoor air quality measurably improved. And this was a couple of years ago. We all know that our energy bill issues in Maryland have only gotten more severe, and unfortunately that trend is going to continue. So it's all the more important that we make our homes as efficient as possible. So that's part of what this push is about as well. That's what I've got. I'll turn it over to Bolon.
All right. Peace, everybody. I am Bolon again, Zahir Xi-Amaru, the Director of Health and Food Justice for No Boundaries Coalition. where through training, education, and base building, we deconstruct physical and imagined barriers here in Central West Baltimore. And we do that through 4 ways: through our health and food justice programming, our youth programming, our community engagement, and also our civic engagement programming as well. And that there goes the cool cats that I work with on the screen. All right. Also, the vision statement. No Boundaries Coalition envisions a self-sufficient community with ample and equitably shared resources to enable it to thrive on its own terms for the people and by the people. So basically, my portion of the project was finding different ways in everyone's, right, from their own organization's point of view of how to engage our actual communities here in the 21217. And one of those ways we do that yearly is with the JHU environmental health team and students that are taking this environmental applied health course each year. This year, we made the project specifically focus on our team effort between Electrify Baltimore and actually teaching these youth how to interact with CBOs and making sure that the community's voice is always heard, that they own their own information, but they're always interacting with the people who are doing the research as well. That applied research course applies principles of environmental health to a real world problem impacting the community in our own backyard. It investigates the driving forces that underlie these complex environmental health issues. It explores strategies for assessment and intervention. It integrates the lived experiences of community members and students wherever possible and incorporates group work. So students will be expected to coordinate schedules with each other in community-based organizations. Like I pretty much just overviewed our wonderful students. I want to make sure I give credit to the work that they did. We had Zeju, we had Karina, we had Lauren, we had Antonio, we had Kihung, we had Tabassum, and also Asim. Each person took different roles, whether that was giving out phone calls to community members to see if they were interested in gas stove kitchen testing, and also if they just even heard about the project and giving them that underlying information to let them know why it's important. They help us knock doors and try to get the information out that way. There was an energy justice town hall meeting that we hosted as a community through the different environmental groups that we all partner with. And they hosted an Electrify Baltimore table where they also introduced people to the project, tried to sign people up, and they hosted this presentation with us in front of community members where they were able to answer questions about everything from what part of the research are they dealing with the monitors, looking at affordability, looking at accessibility, looking at are we even feasibly using the scanners right ourselves? Are there things that we could learn from the DC report? It's imperative that we can utilize the power of our universities here in Baltimore City, those being Johns Hopkins University, those being University of Maryland, the HBCUs and the like that have technology and science departments that we can vet this information as community members and learn exactly how we're being affected, what can be the solutions, and how we can be involved. And this was a great test zone as a CBO to be able to determine what are those questions that can be asked and how we can be advised from students, but also make it comfortable for them to be able to take book knowledge and apply it practically to everyday people. This is just an example of the report. I'm not going to get into the report, but I want to show you all the wonderful outline actually, because they didn't do a whole report, but because we're going into the actual portion of doing the gas stoves testing within our communities, what the students were able to do was build an executive summary for us, give us a background information on pollutants and associated health effects, a summary of different methodological approaches. Excuse me, guys, got a gap. Sometimes I get a little nervous when I'm talking. Community approach recommendations, which are really important because, again, we want to make sure that we're not just coming into people's homes and just saying, hey, you are testing at a high level and it's unhealthy. Goodbye. Right? I'm going to let Anjali talk a little bit more about the tile that we leave at people's houses as well so that they can have resources. But it was imperative that we didn't just show up with problems, that we did leave people with options, solutions, and a voice. And the last thing that we had here was summary of interviews. They spoke with different teachers and professionals to be able to get feedback and also future recommendations. So it was a wonderful time being able to work with those students. I'm going to try to get back over to the presentation if I can. Anjali, you want to pop in and talk about the tile while I do that?
Yeah, I think it's one of the tab that's on the left of this tab, the top. Thanks, Bolon. It was really great working with the students to figure out how we can build from the beyond gas work and even improve some of the methodology and outreach in this round of Electrify Baltimore. So the tea towel that we left behind is just like Bolon said, we're not just trying to go in with problems, we're also trying to offer real tangible resources. And, there's a lot of doom and gloom with climate change in general, but especially when you're in someone's home uncovering this pollution that they've been breathing in unknowingly, because we can't see, smell, taste, or feel the pollution necessarily. But understanding that it's all in efforts towards collective change. But on the household level, the tea towel that we left behind actually has ways to mitigate some of the indoor air pollution, such as opening a window, seeing if your gas stove vents to the outside, because in Maryland, there is no mandate that requires gas stoves to vent to the outdoors. So if someone turns their vent on and if it's not vented outside and it's just blowing it around the kitchen, really. Other ways are to switch to electric appliances, which many people already have and use in their kitchens, such as convection ovens, air fryers, blenders, toasters, George Foreman grills, that kind of thing. So just like using their gas stove less, essentially. And the tea towel is like just a fun token to remind them, what we talked about in the 30, 40 minutes that we spent with them in their kitchen. And it also has our website's URL, which is www.electrify-baltimore.org, where we would love to stay in touch with all of you guys. And there's also a link there to get your gas stove tested. I think Bolon is going to show it on the screen now. So that QR code or that bit.ly link. Okay, yes. Here's the website itself. And this is a work in progress. We're trying to grow our coalition. So Baltimore-based organizations that are interested in building electrification, moving away from gas, grassroots outreach, and, policy context, advocacy, please fill out the interest form that's on our website and let us know, or reach out to one of us via our email. Yeah, here's the intake form. And it shows you just leave your contact information, address, so that we can see kind of which region. And then we're actually, one of us four that you see here today will be coming over whenever it's convenient with the NO2 monitor and the tea towel. And we welcome you sharing this form and filling it out. Anyone else want to add anything?
One more quick thing. Go ahead, Abby.
Just on the form, there's also an option to sign up to be a volunteer, to come out with us, to test your neighbors' homes, to host a training with your neighbors at your home. So that's sort of the first level of involvement is we actually come out and test your home, but there's deeper ways to get involved as well.
Yeah, thanks for raising that, Abby. We want to increase capacity to be able to carry out these gas tests, and are really interested for motivated volunteers interested in this campaign to help us out.
Excellent. Anything else that you wanted to share from your presentation, or do you have a few minutes for some questions?
I was just going to quickly put a button on the students and their work with the councilmen that day when they did their presentation. As you've seen, Councilwoman Felicia Porter was able to come. And the big thing about this class and how it segues into this work that we're doing is that Anjali and Abby and other folk, like specifically Dustin and CCAN, they're doing a lot of the political work, right? And this type of class, it goes through a lot of adjustments, and community work goes through a lot of adjustments. You're going to people's homes, right? And you're telling them that they may have a gas issue that may lead to health issues. So there was a lot of uncertainty about what they were doing and if it was impact. And the councilman let them know, like, hey, no, I've heard of this bill, and this is the type of work that you should be doing, and this is the type of questions that I would be asking. And it just was a great segue and full circle moment for future professionals, but more importantly, citizens of a city, right, that can see what their impact can do, how they can build partnerships and building a voice. So I think this was a very powerful moment for our group as Electrify Baltimore of seeing that people actually care about it and that it works with policy and that we have a future here with Electrify Baltimore.
Awesome. Awesome. First and foremost, I congratulate your coalition for all the work that you're doing. Individually, I'm a fan of each of your individual work with your individual entities. So it's good to see that you all have come together in a form of a coalition. How long has your coalition been in existence?
I
I
would
think it's
say
a
we're
little.
working on a little under a year, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. When we talk about, converting from a gas stove to electric, it does bring up some concerns that some people have in regards to, oh no, what if the electric goes out? I can't cook, but I, have never or rarely ever have a gas outage per se. So how do you help overcome that objection?
Yeah, that's a real concern. I think Abby probably has a good answer.
Yeah. So I've been told that the vast majority of modern gas furnaces and other appliances need electricity to start regardless. And it can be very dangerous, especially if people are trying to use their gas stove for heating during an outage. You can have those dangerous gases building up in your home relatively quickly. So we certainly discourage that. That said, can understand why people would want to have a backup. Uh, what we see as the real solution, I would say, is on-site generation, right? If you have solar panels on your home, especially if you add to that backup battery storage, we're starting to get into discussions in Baltimore about creating systems of microgrids where homes can be connected up to each other to help share power. I think those are going to be the real solutions to potential outages in the future.
Got it.
And I will note also the gas can go out. In Texas, when they had that big winter storm, it was both the gas and electric that stopped working for folks.
Good point, Abby. Anyone else want to add to that before I go on to my next question?
Yeah, I think like just energy security is at the top of people's minds. So there's hopes that the momentum continues in Maryland to invest in and develop, more battery storage infrastructure, preventing those outages in general, and it's making the switch, even though this is not necessarily directly tied to your question, this comes up. Making the switch from a gas burning stove to an induction cooktop can be costly, but a more affordable alternative is a portable induction cooktop, which costs just around $100 online.
Mhm.
A lot of different retailers have them available now. Even IKEA has it for like $70. So this also creates more space in the kitchen. You can put it away when you're not using it. So just wanted to offer that.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate the solutions that you're putting on the table because, Maryland is very unique in the sense that, we've got four, major pillars that we're hoping to, overcome and educate people about with solutions as part of Maryland Climate Tech 2026. One of those is that Baltimore has the number one highest rate of asthma-related fatalities. And so I think you touched on how the solution helps make for, cleaner indoor air. Secondly, Maryland has the highest energy bills in the nation, close to $6,500 annually is what Marylanders are spending, close to $540 a month, which is a challenge here. And then also, radon. We didn't necessarily touch on radon in your presentation, but 1 in 4 homes actually have radon levels above the EPA recommended action level of 4 picocuries per liter. And then the last challenge that we have in Maryland, that is not a part of your presentation, but it is still a challenge and one that we're looking to address as part of this convening, is the fact that sea level rise is really a big problem on the eastern shore of Maryland, and there are currently homes and religious institutions, faith-based institutions that are being lost to sea level rise. Not to mention some of the history with Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, and those types of things. So, what forest fires is to the West Coast, sea level rise and climate change is to Maryland. So, talk to me a little bit about when someone's looking to convert from gas to electric or an induction oven, what would you say is the number one barrier that needs to be overcome in that process?
For me, I would kind of just piggyback on what Anjali was saying, which I would practically say is education. Knowing that economically, you don't have to, the first step doesn't have to be getting storage and solar on your roof, right? It could be getting that induction cook stove. It could be a lot of the natural things that we've done traditionally, like cook with our windows open, of which some of us done it traditionally. Some of us, like Abby, learned about it in the profession. And then naturally it was like, hey, leave my windows open. Or did you say you did it before, Abby, as well, or that you learned it in
Oh,
the profession, then
no.
you made the change?
Yeah, despite being a climate change professional, I hadn't thought about the potential impacts of burning fossil fuels in my own home.
Mhm.
So no, it was after I learned all this that I started getting really religious about keeping my fan on and opening windows and whatnot.
The whole fan being connected to the outside or not. Like these are things even living in a home I just never have thought of. So going through the process at other people's homes, I started going home and being like, hey, it's my stove connected to the outside. And do I need to start talking to my landlords these type of ways? Like it hits you at home yourself as you continue to educate yourself around these topics. So I think the big thing is just sharing the information that we can mitigate these various different things, even down to the radon. That conversation that we had introducing it to you, we learned something so major in such a short amount of time, but there were other practical things that can be done. We don't have to uproot the whole home.
Right.
Right. So I think that education on a practical level is major. And then finding ways on the macro level to walk in energy sustainability. I think you all made a very important point about how Maryland is structured, our past, Baltimore being one of the areas, one of the latest jurisdictions to even have a sewage system. That comes back around when you have like gas infrastructure problems, and we don't want to continue to build up gas infrastructure, right? We want to start moving further into the future. So this is an opportunity for us to start pushing on a macro level to make permitting easier for solar and energy sustainability, more so storage, making it more affordable for low to mid income households and things of that nature. Bring it back to ITC for people to be able to get tax credits when they're investing into clean energy, things of that nature. Just a couple things that I come up with.
Well, speaking of permitting and the permitting process, I have done some research on one barrier of converting from gas to electric. Sometimes you need to, heavy up the electrical system within the home, and that electrical system, ideally, the electric box is ideally right below the kitchen. If it's not, it takes a little more work. But even finding the workforce to be able to do that, I know GHHI, has the workforce to be able to do that. But when it comes to permitting and BGE and that process, that seems to be the process that can take the longest in this conversion schema. How are you working with Baltimore Gas and Electric if you're working in that territory to help kind of expedite the turnaround process that can take 2 to 3 months for a total conversion with permits?
Yeah, I want to address what you were saying about cost and how to, overcome barriers to get there. Because yeah, BGE's timeline can really vary. It can be long. I think that that's going to need to be a bigger advocacy push, maybe there'll have to be some sort of requirement put in place. But if you don't mind me backing up just a little bit, because you mentioned, heavy up, which is increasing the amount of electricity that can flow safely through the breaker box in your home in the first place, and that can get very expensive. So I want to say first, Anjali mentioned the portable induction cooktops. If you want to stop cooking with gas today, you can get a very cheap item that works very well that just plugs into your regular wall. If you want to replace your whole stove, you may need a different kind of outlet. And you may, as you said, even end up needing to upgrade your breaker box, your wiring, et cetera. That can get pretty expensive. Bringing it back around to BGE, we all pay a very small portion of our electricity bill into a program called Empower, which funds energy efficiency upgrades. They don't actually directly fund stove replacements through that program because it's not the big energy suck in the home per se. But they do fund furnace and water heater replacements and other energy efficient measures, which can include putting the electrical system in the place it needs to be to then easily replace your stove. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware about that Empower program, and the other utilities in the state of Maryland have their own versions of that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say like to get more information on upgrading assistance, check out these links on this slide. And wanted to just add some context that we aren't going into folks' homes promising that we can, they'll be able to upgrade their home completely from gas to electric. There still are barriers. And a big one is affordability.
Mhm.
But we're creating community consciousness through this campaign because we believe that Baltimore City can do better in the future. So this data is being compiled in hopes of influencing the city council and the mayoral administration to pass policy that mandates all future construction to be all electric, which costs nothing. It'll save the city and residents money by foregoing the cost of additional gas pipes. It'll be safer with the reduced risk of explosions and fires associated with gas burning, and it'll be healthier with eliminating the indoor air pollution. And so we're really aiming for that for all future construction that's not yet existing to be all electric. Retrofitting is a much bigger fight. We want to get done, but this is our piece of like what's ours to do.
I love how you're bringing what is known as the most aggressive climate law in the country, called the Maryland Climate Solutions Now Act, our building energy performance standard, which covers buildings 35,000 square feet or more. Dustin touched on that a little bit earlier. I love how you're bringing that down to the residential level as well, and working on legislation in that regard. So I have more questions than time. The two questions that I do want to ask is. Are you looking to, or are there any plans to expand to the Eastern Shore of Maryland who could really use the solutions that you all have? And then Bolon mentioned some of the work that you're doing with Johns Hopkins, and he mentioned some HBCUs, but I guess I wanted to get a little bit more specific on how you're working with HBCUs, whether it's Howard, Bowie, Coppin, University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, Morgan State. How are you engaging HBCUs? And then how are you engaging maybe high school students as interns to be able to help with this process as well?
So the first question about expansion, ideally, all of Maryland should implement mandates for future construction to be all electric. But this is a Baltimore City focused regional effort. Focusing hyper locally allows us to reach more people in the neighborhoods where we live, and it's a little bit more realistic to pass something on the city level at this time. And then as for engaging students, right now we're working with a fellow from the University of Maryland College Park who's reached out to us to volunteer on coordinating some of the logistics. Her name is Leslie Huang, and so she will help us ramp up efforts to get some of these gas tests scheduled with residents. As for working with other students, I think we're still exploring that, and I'll let Bolon answer that.
Yeah, so more so JHU gave us an opportunity to like pilot how that works with us here in Electrify Baltimore. More so at the HBCU side of things that will be added to the extension, right? How can we expand these studies? They got the executive summary done for us, but we need a whole new group of students to keep this work going. So I think that next step for us is doing some of what we're doing now, getting into the community, get more of the word out, start doing some of the gas stove testing and bringing in those students for various things. There's also some money that we may need to look out to try to get for internships because it can expand in regards to how are we getting the word out using social media managers within the college ranks to do that. We already spoke about these technology and science departments. One specifically, Coppin has a great department for that, a renowned department and doctors over there for that. But again, it's more so packaging this the right way for us so that we can really know and get it down to a science and then start extending it out to more of the other colleges.
Um,
JHU was a project that I was already doing at No Boundaries. So it was a natural for me to be like, hey, this year we're not going to focus on food. We're going to focus on clean, healthy homes.
Got it. Got it. So still doing the major grassroots work that needs to get done.
Yes.
So as we close out, I just want to kind of do maybe a round robin and see if anybody has any closing remarks or comments. I normally do ladies first. I was raised that way a long time ago. But Dustin, we haven't heard much from you. Anything you want to add before we close out?
Absolutely. So our I think biggest challenge right now is just the level of uncertainty, not only from the federal administration on our existing climate goals and climate programs, but also issues and uncertainty created by institutions like PJM or the PGM interconnector or the Public Service Commission. So by uplifting the stories that community members and residents here in Baltimore City and across the region have and are dealing with each and every day, we are able to bring the effects of those problems to decision makers. So please get involved with us. And as we grow and further systematize our program, we will be able to serve more and more residents in the communities that we seek to organize.
Absolutely. All the contact information is on the screen, folks. Grab the QR codes, grab the email addresses. We'll also make sure that the deck, the slide presentation deck is in the comment section, so it'll be easily accessible to be able to reach out and communicate. Abby, any closing remarks?
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation. I really appreciate it. And anybody who's watching, please do feel free to reach out. I'd love to talk with you. I want to encourage folks in the Baltimore City and Baltimore County, where we also do energy efficiency work, to check out Green and Healthy Homes' programs and services in terms of the direct service we do in people's homes. Any household making 80% or less of the area median income can be eligible for at least some services. Can't guarantee what we can do for any given home. But yeah, please do take advantage of that. I also wanted to say, Anjali, you mentioned retrofits are a bigger deal, right? It's more cost effective to build all electric in terms of new construction, but retrofitting an existing home can be difficult. There are sources of funding, to take it back around to what you were saying, Dustin, about uncertainty and actions that we need to see policy-wise. I want to uplift the Strategic Energy Investment Fund at the Maryland state level is a fund that's meant to be for energy efficiency upgrades that could be used for these kind of home retrofits, and which in some cases has been used for other things that were not part of its original intended purpose. So I just want to speak in favor of protecting the SEIF, Strategic Energy Investment Fund.
Abby's dropping gems. She's dropping them. Angelique, I know that you normally are working the DMV and based in the DMV, but I understand that you're not currently in the DMV. You are where?
No, I was in India. I'm in Baltimore now. So I'm in
Okay.
Baltimore City. So yeah,
Okay.
focused on this Baltimore area work for this project.
Okay. So you came back from India just for this presentation, is that right?
Yep. Yep. Just for you, Aaron. Yep.
Go ahead and let us know any final comments that you might have.
Well, just really excited to meet more Baltimore City residents, volunteers, organizers that are interested in this work. We very well can shift Baltimore City to a clean energy future. And the more partners and advocates we have on our side, the better. So, please check out our website, fill out the intake form if you want your gas stove tested, and you might just see us in one of your kitchens one day.
In a kitchen near you. I love it.
Near you. All right. Thanks so much, Erin. Really great presenting.
Absolutely. Bolon, take us home, man. Any last comments?
Thank you, Aaron and Maryland Climate Tech 2026 for the opportunity. Like and Anjali says, look forward to seeing you in your kitchens and your communities talking about this actual project. If you have somebody that has a gas stove, please do a wonderful service. Let them know, share this information, get a whole bunch of us together into your home and let's eat fondue or let's melt some cheese and let's talk charcuterie boards, whatever we got to do to make it cool. I just want to invite you to our community and remind you that the best energy conservation is the energy that we don't use. So let's keep it practical. Let's cut our lights off. Let's cut our water off. And let's find the best ways to keep our kitchens clean.
There you go, folks. Electrify Baltimore for climate, health, and savings. They have fondue and charcuterie boards. So with that, we'll close on out. Thank you so much, guys, for your participation, your subject matter expertise, your thought leadership. Greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.